Volcano walks back into the western shore. It feels different. The Hirarian gods are like shadows floating around, irrelevant. They have no more power over her. They can't knock on her door and take Mink away. Belenian are rare to see now. Only those that must leave their homes do. They skulk about as if they fear merely raising their eyes will spell their end. Volcano doesn't recognize her homeland or her people. Everything that made it what it used to be has been destroyed. The houses may stand, and there may not have been a single gunshot fired other than the one that hit Horizon, but it changes nothing. All that remains here are ruins and living ghosts of people that used to call this place home. Volcano heads for the beating heart of the parasite that stands behind it. The quarantine city. She will ask about the children. Of course she will. But she doesn't hope to find them alive. That would be foolish. The guards at the gate want to stop her, but she can't be bothered to even listen to their jeering voices. She grabs their flames and leaves them gasping for air on the ground. She doesn't kill them, of course. She's not a murderer and she will never be one. It's not the Belenian way. She pots the gates and walks into the walled-off settlement. Inside, there are no guards with azure sashes carrying their concealed guns. There are just people. Farmers, tanners, children. Some of them are visibly sick. Many seem fine. One man notices Volcano and runs to her, to then fall at her feet and thank her for saving his family, for sharing the wreath and its air which enables the doctor's cures. He offers her all of his possessions and his unending gratitude. He doesn't know their salvation is not in the Riffian air. None of them do, Volcano realizes. She asks the man to lead her to the captain, and he does so, happy he can do anything for her. Countless others watch them, and then one of the children runs up to her with a gift, but Volcano doesn't take it, she doesn't care. She sees the building where Eden Onokaris resides and everything else fades away. Inside is a hospital. A grand building of wooden pillars and fabric that barely shields the field of sick from the desert winds and the dust. The dust that does nothing but aggravates their lungs. Not all of the flames here burn bright. Some of them are nearly extinguished. But several medics are doing what they can to tend to them. Red conduit stones in their hands. They ask Volcano if they can help her, because even they have no idea. He does, though. Captain Ocaris comes out through the back door. She's ready to tell him to fuck off with his questions when he demands to know how she got here and why. But he doesn't ask that. Please come with me, he says. It's between us. The way he lays his request, there is something painfully genuine about it. Volcano understands and she follows him to a small improvised chamber at the back of the hospital. He closes the door. They don't know where the cure comes from. He says what Volcano already knows. There is no reason they should. They couldn't bear it. How do you bear it? Volcano asks. I'm their leader. Such concepts don't apply to me. A leader makes the right choice and shoulders its weight. That's all. Won't you ask how I got in here? Does it matter? You are here. There was a time, not very long ago, that she would be baffled by his disposition. unnerved by this calm in the face of what is happening. Confused about why he doesn't call for his gods, why he doesn't ask the obvious questions. At that time it would all matter. But today she gets him. So many things don't matter at this moment, not worth the time or the words. They just are, and that's it. She's here, so is he. They talk. Where are the children? She asks about one of the few things that do still matter. They're gone. I've pushed too far, he says. I took too much. Why didn't you tell us what you needed? Let us work with you, let us donate the blood. It's so obvious, and yet... Okaris raises his hand and silences her. And he says, the stones need living blood. The answer. The final piece of the puzzle. Strangely, it brings relief. Not because it's not horrifying, it is. But because it means she can understand why it all happened this way. Because it means the injustice wasn't a whim or a manifestation of a side of humanity she didn't want to believe existed. Extracting living blood is a technique forbidden to use even on animals, ever since magic got regulated. It's the only way to change the signature of the blood using surging energy. And it's torture, plain and simple. It requires the victim to be awake, aware, and feeling. To be living, in every sense of the word. No one would have ever let their children go through it, no matter the reason. Okaris knew that, so he did what he thought he had to do. That's when he finally asks, "How did you get in here?" But it's not curiosity or outrage that drives the question. He wants to know what comes next. Nothing more, nothing less. So she tells him, "It's over. I have the power to end it." He believes her. He knows his men wouldn't let her in otherwise. And that is all he wants to know. Nothing else matters. There is no curiosity in him anymore, no spontaneity. This void in his eyes, Volcano sees it now. There is no person inside her anymore. There is only the leader of his people. He says, "Find Iva, tell him Karayal, and the Hirarians will leave the wreath." She isn't sure whether he assumes or merely hopes she will let his people go. She says, "You destroyed us to save them." "Of course," Okaris says, as if it's the most obvious conclusion. It is though, isn't it? It is obvious, it's natural. It's the most primal instinct to protect one's tribe. "I am sorry, Volcano. I am. I've regretted it every second. I do now as we speak. But I'd do it again because it was the only way. I am here for you now. Kill me. Take your revenge." He opens his arms. "Let's walk to the device. Plug me in, drain the last droplet of my blood and spill it under your feet. There is no reason I shouldn't myself know the pain that I'd caused." "You think your suffering will bring me relief?" she asks. "What good is it to me?" "It's the best I can offer." "You want to die, don't you? The guilt that's driving you mad." "Of course it is, Volcano. I am not evil. I wish I could be, believe me, I do. But I'm not. Your death means nothing to me. I will not forgive you. There is no redemption for what you've done. I'm not looking for redemption. My life is the only thing I can offer you as means of solace. And yes, it's tragic when the highest prize is worth so little. Nothing. It's worth nothing. You're worth nothing to me. Kill me. She doesn't. She doesn't respond either. Why are you still here, volcano? How did you survive what you've done? He knew. He knew what they were doing, and he didn't stop them. Mercy, was it? In a perverse way, perhaps it was. You truly are a formidable leader, he tells her. Volcano looks into those horrifying eyes once more. Why, she doesn't know. She doesn't want to see the haunting similarity between them and the foreboding it carries. She snuffs Ocaris's flame. Is her act of mercy a murder? Does it matter? Volcano leaves Quarantine City through the main gate. She doesn't seek out Iva. She doesn't order Hirarians to leave the wreath. The power Ocaris gave her can't save her people. They are the key to the medical magic, and it makes no difference who bleeds them in the end. All of these people she passed by in this makeshift town, crowding on the makeshift paths, busy with their makeshift lives, they're irrelevant. She doesn't wish them bad, she doesn't wish them well either. They can remain as they are. Perhaps they will survive. Perhaps it will be enough to believe the dust can cure them. She returns home to the western shore and begins ringing the chimes, summoning Belenian. It wasn't often that the chimes rippled towards the docks from the crossing. But they do today, and first concerned faces appear shortly. Behind them trail wary Hirarian guards, and Volcano wishes not to hear anything they might want to say. She closes her eyes and lays them down by muffling their flames. They struggle to breathe. It keeps them occupied. Volcano's own people look around frightened. Is this the plague, they wonder, perhaps? Gather everyone, she says. What happened to them? Idil is the one to speak. Volcano finds a speck of comfort in seeing her face. It's over, she answers. Few more gods approach the gathering, and they too fall like flies. It's enough for Belenian to realize it's Volcano's doing. They try to ask questions, but she hushes them and promises answers later. Right now they need to gather everyone, all the settlements, every last soul. We won't kill them, she answers the one question that permeates the crowd. Some understand, but some cannot, as their pain of loss forbids them from it. There is hate in her people Volcano had never seen before. She shares with them tired clichés they need to hear. More death won't bring anyone back. History should be a lesson, not a revenge manual. Justice is not worth the suffering of the innocent. Eventually, the pleas for vengeance fade away, replaced by fearful wonder and the ringing of chimes. The last of the settlements have been freed, and Volcano stands in front of her people. She says to them, "We've always looked to the future, and we must do so now more than ever." She expects many to speak up, but they stand in silence, watching her every move, as if they expected her to smite them down as she did the Hirarians. Once more, It's Idil who has the courage to step forth. And she asks, "Volcano, what can we do? They will farm us like cattle. The world can't survive without healing magic." Volcano's answer is obvious. "I don't care about the world," she says, "but I will keep you safe." But there is nowhere to run. Some nations may promise us protection, but we can't be that naive, not again. "You're right, we cannot trust anyone, but there is a place where we can hide." "Where?" "The island in the storm. We can cross the barrier." Before they can begin asking how that could ever be possible, Volcano raises her hands and the bay behind her evaporates. A cloud of steam rises to the sky before any wave flows in. People kneel. "Stand up," Volcano says. "I'm not your queen." It's futile. Thousands of knees hit the ground like a wave in its own right. No, she's not a queen to them. She's more. She knows it, and she knows there is no escape anymore, no denial. So be it. But her choices were the right ones. She will not leave death and suffering in her wake, and she will not end up begging for death to release her from the burden of her decisions. She brings the Hirarian ships to the shore safely, and she asks her people to take the unconscious sailors to the land. Even those still craving revenge don't dare lay a finger on them. They follow their leader's command. This world was born of the will of 4 elemental gods. They've been gone for a long time now, centuries, more perhaps. But each of them left something behind. A bit of divine energy, a spark. Those sparks manifest in various ways. Quasi-natural phenomena, such as the everlasting dust covering the wreath, or the circular storm surrounding an uncharted land. No sailor has ever succeeded in breaching the barrier, and many have tried. Wrecks litter the seafloor beneath the Belenian ship sailing towards the raging element. An underwater graveyard, a monument to human curiosity. There is a moment of worry. What if Volcano's powers will not suffice after all? What if the winds won't give in as the sea had? It passes quickly, though, as the ring is formed mostly not by air but water, rising from the ocean's surface. She creates a tunnel through it, wide enough to allow the ships to pass, one by one. The darkness covers them, obscuring the sun. And finally, it feels more like home than the open waters. And then, sun rays. They leave the ring, and the sight of the new unsettled land welcomes them. Home. For the others, anyway. Volcano knows that this concept is lost to her. It will be different, more difficult without the dust sheltering them, but it's nothing in comparison to what they left behind. The perspective changes so quickly. The sailors begin to scramble around to anchor the ships and deploy the dinghies that will take everyone to the shore. When everything is ready, they stop and look at Volcano, waiting. Of course. She orders them to proceed, and soon they touch the land. The air is cold around, and evergreen trees tell them it's likely always this way. The sand looks pristine, white and fine. It's like silk under their fingers. In the distance, tall, bright mountains lurk behind the forest and tower over the entire island, their tops hidden in the clouds. It's beautiful, truly. Volcano notices movement by the nearby rock, and, curious, she goes towards it. A snake is hiding behind the stone, white like the sand, or like Belenian skin, She kneels on one knee and picks the animal up. It doesn't try to slither away. Instead, it coils her wrist, gently, a welcoming embrace. She stands up and turns to her people. She raises the snake and says, "Everyone, our new home, Serpentine." Serpentine. The name carries in whispers at first, then in louder and louder words that end in jovial shouts. Serpentine. They work till dusk on setting up temporary camps where they can spend the night. Tomorrow they will send scouts inland to see where they could begin to settle. But Volcano can't wait that long. She sneaks off unnoticed into the night and makes her way into the forest. She must know what they can expect from this land. She must know if it can sustain them, if she's not leading her people to death. There is only so much both the science and the legends could tell them about this place. She stumbles upon tracks of a larger animal and she begins to follow them, helped by the light she summons in her hand. Could these creatures be herded, perhaps? But it's not the creature she finds at the end of the track. It's a path, a road not made by animals. She looks up, her chest suddenly tight, and she sees what she feared most. Smoke. A trail of smoke rising above the forest. She rushes that way praying it's a wildfire, an accident, something, anything other than people. It isn't. Of course it isn't. There it is, the settlement of locals. Houses, farms, a water mill, roads leading in various directions. The island in the storm was uncharted and separated from the rest of the world. They don't have the technologies from the mainland. They may not know its magic. But they are here. And where there are humans, there is human nature. They need to explore, understand, and progress. They need to survive and to defend one's kin. Belenian blood holds power greater than gold. Sooner or later, all secrets come to light. Volcano made a promise to her people. And in the end, she too is human. It's not evil when it's a necessity. Or so she will have to believe. She raises her hands and a pillar of flame engulfs the small settlement. Volcano closes her eyes and for a moment just looks at the black landscape sparkling with distant flames. The Belenian gathered on the shore see less than those still on the ships. But they all halt for a moment when pillars of fire shoot to the skies all over the island like signal fires. And in a way, they are just that. Welcome home, they say. Welcome to Serpentine.